Hello and welcome to Smokemare's Gaming and Car Talk. And again, as I explained in my last video, it's not just video gaming, I do also do Warhammer. And today I'm going to show you a couple of, well, I'll show you one of my armies which I've been working on for a long time. I've been working on this one since the mid-90s, but there has been a break. So I started playing and modelling in 2nd edition and stopped in 2nd edition as well, and I just recently got back into it, but the army I'm going to show you doesn't involve have any recent models at all. It's all pretty old school stuff. So here we have my predominantly old school 2nd edition Space Wolves army. Some of it is fairly recent edition. This here is my Bjorn the Fell-Handed, who I painted around 1995, something like that, and probably did a fairly terrible job at the time, but I was a lot younger then, and I did have to make this little base for it because these things didn't come with a base and they just fell over. So that's Bjorn the Fell-Handed. We've got a squad of Wolfguard Terminators. This one's got a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield. More or less finished, needs a bit of touching up in places. That's the pack leader with a Power Axe and Storm Bolter. We've got 2 heavy weapons. We've both got Storm Shields and Assault Cannons. And those were originally part of the 5-man squad in 2nd edition, and the spares are up in the spare area here, as you can see, but they can't go in a squad now because in 9th edition you can't have a squadron of just Space Wolf Terminators with the assault cannons. Then we've got the guys with Storm Bolts and Storm Shield, and these are actually some really old school Space Hulk Terminators. I've just basically assembled a squad of 10 from a bits box so that I can get those 2 assault cannons in. These here were originally a tactical squad, and what I've done is I've modified the captain there so that he's got a Power Axe. And again, these were originally painted with Blood Angels. The Gery Hunters don't get a missile launcher, so the missile launcher guy has been modified to have a chainsword and a plasma pistol as a fitting in the rules. Quite why he needs a targeter system for his plasma pistol, I'm not sure. And obviously the rest of them, the guy with a flamer, which is allowed for Gery Hunters, and then you've got the guys with bolters. The missile launcher didn't go to waste because that went to the Scout. Now you may not recognise these, but these are Advanced Space Marine Scouts. Originally they all looked like this, just a guy with a bolt pistol. There were some guys with the heavy bolters, but they're kind of hard to convert. That one may become another sniper rifle guy, but we've got one guy here who's I've modelled him a set of goggles and made him a sniper rifle, just to put a bit of variety into the squad. There I've got the captain, or pack leaders as the Space Wolves call them. These sniper rifles are basically made by taking old Necromunda metal weapons off a sprue and adding a sight using the offcut from the rivet. So there's a bit of a machine work that went into making those. And then I've just got on top of that 2 guys with shotguns. Obviously he originally had a Mohican, but again, just to vary the squad up a bit and make it a bit more interesting, I made him bald. And then we've got another guy with a shotgun there. And that is the Scout squad, who are going to get an additional sniper rifle guy fairly soon. Lastly, well, second to last really, That's obviously the missile launcher that came from the tactical squad. So it is now a Gery Hunter squad. This here is a Tech Marine, which I bought basically in the 90s with the intention of healing Bjorn the Fell-Handed and sort of buffing him and that sort of thing. And it does work very well in game. Undercated him in the 90s, but never got around to finishing him. So this is one of the first ones I did when I started getting back into the hobby. It's a bit rough around the edges, but I'm pleased with it. It's table ready, let's say. The big project was I wanted to give my Space Wolves a bit more of a chance against my Tyranid army, which is quite big, strong models. So I wanted a squad of Long Fangs, and I wanted them with all las cannons. And they don't sell Long Fangs anymore, and putting together a squad of Long Fangs with las cannons was a bit of a challenge. So this guy here, he's the sergeant, and again I bought a pack of devastators pre-primed off eBay, and I bought a bunch of spare Space Wolf power axes and a Heresy Heavy Weapons Upgrade kit and a model dog, and with a lot of chopping and gluing I put them back together in the set. I'll try and find a picture to put up to show you what they looked like before. But here's the captain there, there's his power axe. The gun is actually not what it looks like. It's now a multi-melter, but I basically converted that by putting the heat shield on the end and the little bit of that red thing there that's a gas, looks like a gas canister. That was originally a bit of sprue, and I just added the straps there to make it look like a melter gun. This is the guy who's sort of trying to look down the barrel and shoot. Bit difficult to get the poses right on these Heresy las cannons. This one was more of the normal pose that you're supposed to do out of the box. He's got some sort of rangefinder there, and this is another very standard pose, sort of looking down the barrel, trying to get ready to take a shot. And then you've got the guy who's just getting ready to hold onto his shoulders. Lastly, instead of an armorium cherub, and again somebody off a Facebook group gave me the idea for this, I added a little Labrador, because I've got a Labrador. Maybe try and put a picture of him up there for you. So I modelled him into this, and it's basically a token for an armorium cherub. The other guy who did it put his doggy with a ammo case, but because all my Long Fangs are using las cannons, that didn't seem to be quite logical. I thought a battery would make more sense, so I just used some spare bits and bobs, a bit of card, transfer, a bit of fill, a bit of paint, and this is a plastic cable with what I think looks like a coupler on the end. Basically, so it looks like they can get a recharge mid-battle, which is effectively what the armorium cherub does. And that is the Long Fangs squad. So altogether, back in 2nd edition, there was probably sort of 2,000 points worth there. Nowadays, in 9th edition, this is more like a 1,200 point army. That's Bjorn. I'll pop the Tech Marine across there. I'll bring the scouts back in. And put the Terminators back. Again, these were painted with a mixture of modern and vintage paints. Most of them were, well, most of the Terminators and Bjorn were painted back in the 90s, but I've tried to do the more recent ones in the same style. So for example, this guy, he I did in the 90s, and the one I did recently to try and copy the same style is this one here. So really just trying to get them to look fairly similar. Again, they're not quite the same. Some of the paints didn't survive the 20 years in storage, well, 25 years in storage, and I've had to come up with substitutes, and that's what we've ended up with. It's an unusual army for Space Wolves. It's not as melee orientated as it typically would be. but it's quite a fun army to play, and that's my Space Wolves as they stand so far. Well, that's my Space Wolves army so far. Thinking of adding some things to it, but obviously anything I add now is probably going to be modern things. I also have a large Tyranids army, which is again about 1200 to 1400 points, but it's a funny one because it's not got lots of little swarmy models. It's mainly fairly big tanky things like warriors, carnifexes, and the hive tyrants and so on. I'll be talking about in another video. Hope you've enjoyed the Space Wolves and found them interesting, and I'll update you if I add any more to it. My third one, which I've just started and not got very far with yet, is the Adeptus Sororitas. I've got about 1200 points worth of battle assisted paint up, but I'm still in the process of modelling those, but I will do a video on those at some point soon. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.